1. The stillness and the roast. The streets were different on a Sunday. Quieter, slower, softer. Shops were closed, buses fewer, and the noise of everyday life seemed to pause. But inside British homes, it was anything but silent. Sunday meant one thing above all else: the roast. The ritual was as reliable as the church bells. Roast beef or lamb, Yorkshire pudding rising in the oven, gravy bubbling, potatoes crisping just right. The table was set with the best china, even if chipped. Families gathered. Parents, children, sometimes grandparents, or the neighbor invited at the last minute. It wasn't just a meal, it was the highlight of the week. Children sneaked roast potatoes before being caught, the wireless hummed in the background, and the clatter of plates mixed with laughter. Many remember the sheer warmth of it. The smell of roasting meat drifting through the street, the comfort of sitting down together, and the sense that for this one afternoon, life was in perfect order. Number 2. Sundays and the wireless. After lunch came another tradition, the wireless. The BBC Light program filled countless living rooms. The Clitheroe Kid made families laugh together. Comedians like Al Red or Jimmy Clitheroe became part of the household, their voices as familiar as a relative's. There was music too, gentle, respectful on Sundays. Hymns, light orchestras, or even a play. Children sprawled on rugs in front of the fire. Parents dozed in armchairs, and everyone listened together. No scrolling, no skipping, no playlists. Just one program, one family, one room. It gave Sundays a rhythm, laughter, reflection, and a calm that today feels almost impossible. Number 3. Sunday best and church bells. Before the roast, there was the other great ritual, church. For many families, Sundays began with the sound of bells echoing across villages and city streets. It wasn't always about deep faith. It was about belonging. Children were scrubbed clean, shoes polished, hair neatly combed. Everyone wore their Sunday best, clothes saved for this one day. Whole communities gathered, filling pews with familiar faces. Hymns rolled through the air, brass bands sometimes led processions, and afterwards, the churchyard became a place for chatter, handshakes, and catching up on gossip. Even for those who didn't go inside, the bells themselves marked the day. Number 4. Sunday walks. And then came the Sunday walk. Families buttoned coats and stepped out into quiet streets or countryside lanes. Sometimes it was just a stroll to the park, sometimes a march across muddy fields. Children grumbled, parents insisted, but soon the rhythm of walking together took over. Parks were full of prams and little legs, with duck ponds, swings, and the occasional ice cream if the season allowed. Couples strolled arm in arm, elderly neighbors tipped hats, and everyone moved at a slower pace. It wasn't glamorous, but it was free, and it stitched families together in memory. 5. Restrictions and rules. But Sundays weren't only about warmth and family. They were also shaped by rules. Shops shut. Cinemas delayed openings. Board games and books were fine. But football in the street? Not on a Sunday. Many of these restrictions came from old Sabbath laws, some centuries old. They lingered in post-war Britain, turning Sunday into something between peaceful and frustrating. You could watch a film at the cinema, but you couldn't attend a live theater. You could play cricket in a park, but snooker indoors was forbidden. And organized dancing? Out of the question. For children, it often meant boredom. No bikes, no shouting, no games against the wall. For adults, it was a mixture of rest and mild resentment. 6. Afternoon quiet. After the roast, after the walk, Sundays often stretched long. The stillness deepened. Shops remained shuttered, radios softer, streets subdued. Children played board games or read comics. The Beano or Eagle passed from hand to hand. Mothers ironed school uniforms. Fathers read the paper. the news of the world rustling in silence. It could feel peaceful, or it could feel endless. A day that reminded you both of togetherness and of waiting for Monday. 7. Sport and contradictions. Sport on Sundays carried its own peculiar rules. Professional matches were banned, especially if money changed hands. But informal cricket on the village green? Perfectly fine. Footballers had to wait for Saturday, but local kids sometimes sneaked a kickabout until told off. "Not on a Sunday" was a familiar phrase. The contradictions were endless. You could pay for a cinema ticket, but not for a theater seat. You could gather in a pub for a pint, but not for a dance. It was tradition wrapped in law, and often it made no sense. 8. Campaigns and change. By the late 1950s, voices of dissent grew louder. Public figures like Jack Warner mocked the absurdity. Why was a comedy for charity banned, but a Hollywood film allowed? The Archbishop of Canterbury himself suggested revising the laws, but others fought to keep Sundays exactly as they were: quiet, controlled, sacred. The Lord's Day Observance Society warned of a slippery slope. Lose Sunday, and Britain would lose itself. For younger generations, though, the silence felt like a cage. They wanted to reclaim the day on their own terms. Friends, fun, leisure. The conflict between tradition and modern life played out every Sunday, one roast at a time. Number 9. Sunday evenings. As dusk fell, Sundays had their own unique feeling. The smell of coal fires, the fading sound of hymns, the clink of teacups. Tea might be sandwiches and Battenberg cake, maybe a pork pie or a slice of Victoria sponge. Families tuned into the radio once more, sometimes to hear sing something simple, sometimes to laugh together at comedy. Children were bathed, hair dried by the fire, uniforms laid out for the week ahead, and always that quiet anticipation, or dread, of Monday morning. 10. The legacy of Sundays. Looking back, Sundays in the 1950s in Britain were full of contradictions. Restrictive, yes, but also comforting. Silent streets, but noisy kitchens. Empty parks, but crowded church pews. They were a day carved out of time. A pause in the week that forced people to stop, for better or worse. For some, it was boring, even oppressive. For others, it was the one day the family felt whole. Ask anyone who lived it, and they'll tell you Sundays left a mark. The roast, the bells, the wireless, the walks, they shaped a rhythm of life that's almost unimaginable today. So, were Sundays better then, or simply different? That's for you to decide. What do you think? Were Sundays in the 1950s a comfort or a cage? Share your memories, your stories, and your feelings in the comments. They keep these lost rituals alive. And if you love exploring the everyday history of Britain, don't forget to subscribe. Because the past isn't gone, it's just waiting to be remembered.